Are you into creepypastas? Well, let me tell you a story that's so creepy. It's that kind of shit that keeps you awake at night, just like the people in the story. Yeah, you heard it right. It's called the Russian Sleep Experiment. Now, you might have heard it before, but let me give you a rundown because this story is wild. It all started in the late 1940s, back then, when some curious humans were doing, let's say, what happens if we do something strange kind of experiments. And the Russian, they were all in for it. Those were the craziest guys. So the scientists, they decided to go try something wild. They wanted to see what happens when humans do not sleep for a really long time. When I say really, I mean it. The plan was simple: take five prisoners, lock them in a room for 15 days, and pump in some special gas that does not let them sleep at all. The gas will keep them awake for the next 15 days straight. You might ask, why? Just because the scientists thought that this experiment would make those people super soldiers. Oh my god, Russian scientists? They were crazy. Clearly, they have never met someone who has had a lot of energy drinks. Huh? So, after locking them in the sealed room with no sleep and a whole bunch of weird gas, everything seemed normal for the first few days. It was just like they were having a sleepover. The prisoners were like joking around, making fun of each other, probably complaining about bad quality snacks. You know, normal stuff. But with no sleep, no snacks, and no escape. But then, on day 5, this is when things started to get out of hand. The shit is about to get crazy. One prisoner, out of nowhere, started screaming for no reason. Like full on panic mode. And it wasn't just one scream. No, no, no. He was continuously screaming for hours and hours and hours. Just like somebody had just told him that they ran out of pizza at his favorite place. Like, no. The others, they just stared at nothing. They didn't even say a word. They were like whispering to themselves. They didn't scream, they just sat there, whispering. Maybe about what they were gonna have for dinner when all of this shit gets over. By day 9, things took a wild turn. There was no screaming, the room was completely silent, no whispering, nothing. When the scientists they checked in to see what was happening around, they found something. Well, let's just say it wasn't a great sign. The prisoners had started doing things. And when I say things, I mean disgusting stuff. The prisoners had ripped off pieces of their own skin and they were eating it. Yeah, you heard me right. They were eating their own flesh. Like it was the best snack ever. And well, if they thought that this wasn't enough for the day, they also smeared blood all over the walls. It wasn't an art, it was more like, I can't believe this shit is happening. Madness. Now, the scientists were clearly freaking out, right? So, like, they tried to get the prisoners out of there, but here comes the creepy part. The prisoners didn't want to leave. They begged to stay awake. They said, we have to stay awake, don't let us sleep. We can't sleep. And at that moment, the scientists were probably like, oh, okay. I think I'll just leave now and never come back. But they didn't. They wanted to see how far this thing could go. Spoiler alert, it didn't go well, as expected. Yeah, the cow is right. Can you even imagine this? You know, the guy who was screaming on day 5th, he lost his vocal cord screaming, which was the reason the room was completely silent on the 9th day. His voice was nothing but some sort of weird noise a snake would make. And the others? They were not even looking like people anymore. Their skin became pale, their eyes were wide open, like they were constantly terrified. They had bloodshot eyes, their skin looked stretched, they were wearing someone else's face. It wasn't just sleep deprivation, it was like they were being driven insane. And here's the worst thing. These poor guys were beyond saving. The gas had driven them insane. They didn't want to escape anymore. They wanted to stay in that nightmare world, awakened and lost forever. It wasn't just that they couldn't sleep, it was that they didn't want to sleep. Their mind had completely shattered. They became something else. So, what do you learn from this? Sleep is important, don't skip it. Sleep on time, you poor piece of shit. Why are you awake at 1 at night? Go and sleep. Because if you do skip it, then you might end up tearing off your own skin and eating it like a snack and begging to never sleep again. Not a good look, right? Your crush won't like it. So, sleep on time. And let's just say that this experiment was a great success. At the end, this is what the scientists wanted, right? I'm gonna say it again. Sleep is your best friend. Don't mess with it. If you stay awake for long enough, you might end up like these poor prisoners. Sleep tight tonight. And remember, your bed, it's your safe place. Or you can end up screaming away and breaking your vocal code. You don't want that. Well, this was it. This was the Russian sleep experiment. You may tell this to your friends to scare the shit out of them in school, or some little kid at the family reunion if you're bored. I don't care. If you like the story, give it a thumbs up, because if you do not, then I'll leave some of that gas for you.